Well, good morning, everybody. We are back in the office today. We're going to be installing countertops. So with no further ado, let's get into it. So let's go over the first step of what we did there on the countertop installation. We took some backing board, which happens to be some melamine, 3/4 melamine, which is stuff that you use to make shelving out of in closets and such. I had some extra from a shelving job I did. And so I went and got the scraps and we cut it down on the table saw into this width here. And then I went on my miter saw and cut those small pieces to length and then cut those to length. And then we use a finish nailer to nail them down to the cabinet dividers, which is pretty nice. So it's nice and sturdy. So the reason we did that is because we want to put the countertop on top of there. We need the spacing because the front of the countertop is going to come over. It's got a, I'll show you the edge here. It's got a beveled edge here on the nose and that hangs over the front. So you need to build up a little bit to be able to put the countertops on. So we're gonna cut that countertop to fit on here, but since now that we've got this installed, we can go ahead and screw from below through this material, locking our countertop down. And so that's the reason for that. So another tip that I missed or forgot to share with you was when on the table saw or the miter saw, when you're cutting a bunch of the same blocks, is how to consistently cut these to the same size. So I know it's pretty easy. You got a measuring tape. I need a 16-inch board, so I measure over 16 inches and I make a mark with my pencil on this, and then I cut it, and then I have a 16-inch board. But then if I need like multiple of these or a bunch of these, like I did here, I will have to measure over 16 inches every time. So this becomes a pattern piece. I'll put a P on it, mark it for a P for a pattern in me. And then, and then I have my 16-inch piece. And so when I put it on a large board like this one, I can stick it all the way to the end and then mark it and then cut it and then use this piece again, mark it and cut it, and I don't have to pull a measuring tape out. It's pretty nice. The reason you can't just pull the measuring tape out and mark 16 inches, 32 inches, 48 inches, and so on is because the blade is an eighth inch thick, eighth inch thick. So if you cut it, every time you cut it, you'll be missing an 1/8 inch off of your board length. So this one would become 15 7/8 and 15 3/4 and so on as you cut. So anyways, let's get into it. Let's get the countertop cut to size and installed. Couple tricks and tips to keep in mind when you're cutting the countertop to fit on the top of the cabinets. So let's look at that real quick. You're measuring the distance from that wall to this wall. Don't always count that measurement on the back is going to be the same as the front, because if this wall was out of square, or if that wall is out of square, the measurement in the front may be longer or shorter depending on which way those walls are angled. So in our case, it was the same measurement except for this corner had a little bit more mud in it and it needed some trimming back here. So when I measured, I went 1/4 inch shy on the back and then left it the normal length on the front. So as you can tell, it's pretty tight all the way up the wall pretty evenly. So we're gonna come back and we'll caulk that seam, that way nothing gets down in there. And we haven't screwed it down yet because I wanna get these other countertops done before we start screwing everything down, because those are gonna go right here in this corner. So let's go ahead and get into cutting these boards and installing that, and then get these countertops cut down to size. Another tip is always use as sharp as a blade as you can when you're cutting these, because if you don't, you'll end up chipping the countertop as you cut it. So that's pretty easy. I use a 40-tooth finish blade and it works really well. So anyways, let's get into it. here, I thought I would share with you how I know where I'm gonna nail at. So I notice, well, you could notice here, I have little black marks. That lines up with this board here, with the end cabinet, the cabinet. So I put my board there, and I'm just gonna split that line. I'm not worried about too much. And I'm gonna nail here, here, and here. That way it locks it down. And that way I don't end up nailing somewhere that the nail's gonna show through, or end up nailing through and nailing my door shut. That wouldn't be good. So anyways, let's get back to nailing this side. When you're measuring to cut a corner countertop, you're gonna measure from the long point all the way down to where your next cabinet is, or your next wall is. In this case, it's 104 inches and 7/8. You can't really measure from that side up there because it's not square. So you measure this side first, your full length, and you make your mark, and then you can measure over from this side to here, and then to make that mark over there, from this side to here, because then that gives you a nice square line. You can also use a square. You want to make sure your walls are square because you might need to cut out a taper, but you can measure that on the inside. So let's go ahead and get this cut. We have all the countertops cut. Our next job is to fasten them down to the cabinets, which we'll be using screws from underneath to suck them down. And then also in the corner here, we have to tie those together, and we have these little brackets over here. So these are the fasteners. Comes in a little kit. You just snap it apart. Comes with 4 of these little babies. There's a little cleats that you saw underneath. I'll show you over there. And when you tighten this together, it pulls those countertops together. And then they also send you a packet of really strong glue. Like if you want something to stay together, use this stuff because it does not come apart. And once you get it set, you don't want to mess with it because it doesn't move. So it's really good stuff. But anyways, let's go ahead and install these and then start screwing the countertops down. We are on the home stretch. I mean, check this out. All the countertops installed and screwed from below, as you'll see right here. See those little holes? Screwing it down to that bracing that we put in earlier. And then we'll pull all the cabinets out and screwed in from below there. And then we came back through and we put the little stickers on all the screws, set all the shelf brackets. And so now we are all put together. So the only thing we have left to do is caulk around this all the way around. I'm actually doing the trimming here too, so I have to caulk that and paint it still, and then caulk all the way around there. There is a little trim piece we're going to stick on there to cover up that section so it blends in better. But as far as the corner, I wanted to mention, I did not use any glue on this corner, and the reason I didn't is because there's a chance that we could be adding cabinets over here for some other stuff in the future. So I didn't glue that section, but I did make sure that I screwed it down real well. And I'll show you a picture of that right here. And then I made sure that was nice and solid, and you wanna make sure it's nice and flat all the way across. So the last 2 things we're going to work on, I'll do the caulking off camera, but is this end piece. This is the only exposed corner. So you come with a little kit that you can buy, which is right here. And it comes with these little pieces, and you use those as your backer pieces. Now I use a finish nailer to nail it up to the bottom of the countertop in multiple places so it's nice and strong. But they do have little nails that you can use if you want to pound them in by hand right there. But then you take this piece and you stick it right on there. Like literally stick it. So you have to trim it so it fits a little bit. And then you can use an iron, and the iron will heat up the glue on the back, and it will cause it to stick. Now I don't have an iron, so I won't be able to show that to you today. But once we get this stuck on here, I'll come back through and you can either use a file or a router. I'm gonna use a router and I'm gonna make this edge nice and smooth so it's just right there. So when someone walks by this corner on the front here, there's always a struggle to get it perfect. But if someone walks by, if they catch it with their side or whatever, it won't rip it off. So we gotta file that down. And so I'm actually gonna do that off camera as well. But that is basically the finished office. Get it all cleaned up and it's gonna look sharp. They're gonna put the chairs there and their computers and all that. It's gonna be great. We have the outlets moved up. So anyways, and then also these little stickers. These are our paint. Let me get my file. So I don't know why they stick these on top. I'm guessing there's a reason, but so you can grab it. Let me put you on the stand. You grab the corner, and I usually use a knife because when you get to the middle, they have like sections where it doesn't come up because they have it cut. So you just kind of use your knife like this and just work your way across and it'll come right off. And it usually doesn't even leave a residue. So, but if it does, you can use some Goo Off cleaner stuff or some paint thinner, and it'll come right off. But anyways, thanks for watching. I enjoyed making this video about countertops. If you have any questions about countertops or any other construction ideas, please leave them down below. I'd love to answer the questions and I'd love to make videos on things that you want done. So anyways, thanks for watching. As always, like, subscribe, and enjoy the videos that are coming in the future.